Hi friends, I'm Flutter. Audio is so important to game design and development. I want to talk about that and how I created the sound and music for my game Shadowmend. Why is sound so important? It indicates what to do, it can give feedback to the player, and it really can set the right vibe and tone for your game. You might have a specific theme or a certain time period in your game. And so really when you create the music and sound for that, it can help enhance that and really solidify that in fact that person is in that time period or place. So it really helps establish that location. And in VR, that is absolutely critical because you are in that space. What sound did I need for my game? Well, I needed ambience, I needed music and UI clicks, which is pretty traditional, and narration, and even dialogue and voices for these different robot characters. And when did I start thinking about the sound and music? When I was planning. So right away, I start listing all the sounds that I need just when I'm listing what assets I need. So when I'm doing level and environment design as well as interaction design, I make sure that I'm also thinking about what sound is also needed for those interactions or those different scenes that I'm creating or different characters that I have in the scene. Let's just go through some examples from my game to just show you the importance of sound and how it really helps with either being in the three-dimensional space or with the interactions. When you're outside a club at a big city, sometimes you can hear the thumping of the club if it's really loud and hopping. So I wanted to recreate that. And how I did that was I created an outside club snapshot. And in that case, the music was low and it also had, low pass on to give it more of that sound like, so you're kind of just hearing that bass. And then the ambience was a lot louder because you're outside. So you're hearing the city sounds and that kind of sound. And then when you open the door, boom, the inside club snapshot turns on. And then the ambience I took all the way down. So you don't even hear outside anymore. And then the music goes up. I do also have a reverb zone in the club, and so that is just in the area in here. And this is just my quick way to do some audio design. When it comes to matching shadows in my game, the club is really dark, and that's a part of the challenge. I thought it would be good to add a sound so when the player gets close to the correct place on the wall that they would hear like a notification one shot. So I have that here. So when they hover in the correct spot, they know, oh, I think I'm in the right place. It's a cue, audio cue. Then you let go of the grip and the sketch appears onto the wall and you hear, thank you. Then you know that the interaction is complete. And so I did that through interactor events on the XR socket interactor. If you happen upon the office limbo scene, I really wanted to establish this environment like being in an corporate office and how it can be annoying. And so one of those things is this ringing cell phone that randomly will ring, and it stops only when you grab it, but then it randomly will go off again within a certain time frame. That's to set the vibe and the theme of this scene. So there isn't really anything that you're winning with this or solving. It's just to help establish being in an annoying corporate meeting. So I created this sound interaction or effect, you could say, and it was implemented within the phone interaction. And that's totally done with a script. how did I create the sound and music for my game? I didn't create everything from scratch. The only original sound in there is the music. I am a musician, and so of course I wanted to make sure that the music was all original. Now, the ambience and the different sound effects were all copyright free sounds and clips that I found on places like freesound.org and splice.com. And then what I would do is I would take those samples and then bring them into Adobe Audition and then add maybe like an effect to it or scramble it a little bit or just put an effect on it that gave it my own twist so that it wasn't exactly like the sound that I downloaded. Here I have a bunch of my narration tracks in an Adobe Audition file.
You know the way.
And so then what I do is I just plop that right into my effects settings track that I have already created.
You know the way. That is, unless you've already.
And it's ready to export. So that made my workflow really easy. So anytime I had to re-record something that was part of the narration, it was just an easy, plug and play into this settings that I already had, and then I could export it and I was ready to go. As for the music, I used Ableton and modular synths. So in my basement, I have a lot of fun. It's so much fun to play with modular synths. And so that was part of the process. Also, I happen to have a bunch of synths in a 1986 Ford ambulance. And I did do a 360 video that I put into VR of performances in that vehicle. And so maybe at some point I'll make that available so you could experience the synthbulance in VR. So yeah, that's a lot of fun to do, and maybe that's for another video. I just don't know how interested you might be in that side of me. There are professional sound designers who use middleware tools such as Wwise. So that might be something that you want to learn if you want to become a sound designer. I am not an expert. I'm just a musician who needed to create some sound and music for my game. But if you want to look into that, I definitely suggest checking out Wwise, and there's some other middleware out there too. Thanks, friends. I just wanted to show you a little behind the scenes of how I created the music and sound and why it's so important for game design and development. Until next time, take care, friends.